Awesome. Hi, welcome back to the Hornthrowers podcast. We are joined by Poisonous Reflection.
Hello, thanks for having us.
Hello there, Necro greetings.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to do that one. I had someone offered to buy me a pint if I said that on a podcast. So you were the first ones to
No,
come across.
You've got a
Necro
expensive
pint of wine.
or like posh people have where it's like wine. What is it? Red wine with coke in it or something.
No, that's a real punk. Apparently, like anarchist punks in Spain drink that a lot. I've been informed.
Well, I used to work in a pub, and people used to order like wine with lemonade. I don't know if that's common. That's a deviation anyway.
That is, yeah. But yeah, as I said, we're joined by Poisonous Reflection, and yeah, we're kind of gonna maybe just get started asking you kind of how you guys started making music together and your kind of entry into metal and extreme music as well. It seems like a good place to start.
Yeah, well, I think it was maybe towards mid last year when we started out. The music that we make now is a lot different from what we made when we started. So the intention was to have like a raw black metal incorporated like harsh noise sound, which we did for so many releases out of the fucking thousands that we've got. And then Jyoti wrote the second demo, which was more along the lines of like crust, like D-beat stuff, which got it got like fairly good reviews and probably better than our previous releases. So we kind of like messed around with the sound a bit and decided to stick with the crust and D-beat stuff, and it's worked out well from there.
Nice. I kind of like, I'm very sympathetic to that sound. Like, that's kind of my favorite era of bands like Dark Throne and stuff like that was when they.
Yeah, we got compared to like Dark Throne's crust era for the second demo, which was quite a good thing.
Your wish would be to play Fuck Off and Die on the radio.
I feel like if we ever get like kicked off the radio or something, then we'd have to do a last show after the last song out on the radio.
Yeah, that is true. We were trying to find songs of yours to play, and we were like, the racist Nazis, Tories, fuck off. And we're like, we really want to play this. I don't think Ofcom will allow us to play it.
Maybe some racist Tories might complain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to find a way to sneak it in.
The intention is that Tories complain, really. But yeah, kind of, yeah, Tom's right there. We started very much, Tom contacted me midway through last year in the summer, said, I was kind of involved in other bands. We weren't really doing anything at that point in time. And Tom basically said, do you want to do some raw black metal more along the lines of Lamp of Murmur? But it's very much developed from then on into this kind of black crust punk thing that we've got going on at the moment. We found some consistency there, and like I said, we've got positive reviews, and it's just kind of fun and energetic as well. And the good thing about it is you don't sacrifice any of that kind of uncompromising nature of black metal. It's just very much like kind of crossed over. Yeah, I'm really enjoying being in Poisonous Reflection at the moment. We have some pretty cool gigs lined up, and we're supporting Dawn Raid on in their Derby leg of the tour. And which kind of really fits in with my ethos and where I am politically, and kind of my background in activism too. So
cool. So are you not going to be present at the Manchester gig though?
I don't think so. We are up that way. We're in Bolton on April 7th.
Yeah,
we're playing.
we've got tickets to the one at the White Hotel. That's all. Like,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
oh, great, we'll get to see you guys, but sadly not.
Yeah, we're playing with Final Dose and Scabs on April 7th at the Alma Inn, I think it's called.
What day is it? What's that?
It's like the 23rd of March, something like that. But no, so like you mentioned then that the sort of like politically speaking, you kind of like align with Dawn Raid. So are you both sort of self-described anarchists? Would you say?
More so. Yeah, I'll let you speak on this because you've got.
I was going to let Tom go first. I come from. I mean, to be fair, more of kind of socialist backgrounds than anarchist backgrounds. I was an activist for many years. Was involved in anti-fascism, anti-racist activism. I actually was believe it or not, a local councillor for the Labour Party, where during kind of Jeremy Corbyn's leadership, but I got kicked out.
Oh, right.
Basically, after Starmer took over, and basically the short story is that a couple of minutes after Prince Philip died, I called him a bigot online, and I got kicked out of the Labour Party for that. But I used to work for a very, very left-wing MP as well, who was a Derbyshire MP. He's not a MP anymore, so I'll let you guess who that is. I'm not going to say who it was, but I've very much grown up, like I said, in kind of from a very, very left background, or certainly anti-fascist. That's something that will never really change. But kind of Dawn Raid, slightly more anarchist, but I think the kind of underlying principles of where we are particularly and what we want to achieve in the world, is very similar.
Well, yeah, anarchism's just a school of socialist thought, just kind of like different ideas about how to kind of like achieve that same end goal, really.
Yeah.
So back to the whole now doing DB crossover sort of punk. Do you think, we spoke about this with Dawn Treader, there's a correlation between black metal and punk?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why maybe red anarchist black metal works, because it can take like the left-wing elements of punk and combine with the DIY elements of like black metal, like early.
Well, that's interesting. I've noticed that a lot of the left-wing black metal bands that we speak to, their kind of entry into extreme music is very much so more through punk.
Yeah, usually they come in through punk.
Kind of, yeah.
Like the whole DIY scene, like you mentioned, venues that they play like squats and stuff like that, and then they eventually take it on to black metal. So the red anarchist black metal, like the DIY scene, is always going to be solid within it.
Sweet. Yeah. So it's interesting. It's like I'm gathering it. You say that you're no longer a member of the Labour Party, or you just sort of agreed as a councillor. Just found that quite interesting, like that.
What was that? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Did you say that you like removed from the party generally, or like just as a councillor from the Labour?
I got a basically a permanent exclusion from the Labour Party.
Yeah, because I
think it's happened to a lot of us on the left. Since Keir Starmer became leader, and the kind of the mechanisation of the party has fallen back into the right wing, basically, the right wing of the Labour Party. They've moved back towards a neoliberal kind of economic plan. We were very much about, democratization of the society, still, there were still elements that I thought weren't radical enough, but, we were trying to create a more socialist ethos, kind of throughout society, culturally, basically, using the, kind of idea of hegemony. Yeah, I was removed. A lot of people I know have been as well. People who kind of worked on the left for very, very kind of, what's the best way to describe it? Basically any old excuse. They have this kind of kind of tie you with the same brush sort of thing called, you bring the party into disrepute. If you bring the party into disrepute, it's this catch-all thing. Like if you say something that upsets someone on social media or on the telly or whatever, or in a meeting, that can remove you for it now. And it's become a very kind of almost Stalinist, undemocratic party in many ways.
I assume this doesn't work for the Conservative Party, because I know something happened recently with a Tory councillor and some absolute bullshit Daily Mail article, and she then liked a load of transphobic tweets and stuff, but somehow she's still allowed to stand. So I assume that doesn't work.
It's kind of the perilous position that the left's in, because the Conservatives don't claim to have these morals, so they're not held to that standard, but there is the left have to be. Does that make sense? Like, whereas the left do get held to their own standards, whereas like if a Tory's racist or makes those statements, it's kind of not as damaging to them. You know what I'm saying?
Makes sense.
Yeah, like but yeah, I was in a similar position. Like I resigned my Labour Party membership around the time that they suspended the whip from Corbyn. Kind of like much because I was kind of recognising that they were trying to purge those like left-wing elements of the party, and kind of ironically the very thing that they were accusing Corbyn of when he was leading the party.
That's the thing. I despise the Tories, all my being, but I don't think I can vote for Labour. But luckily, with being in Wales, we've got Plaid Cymru, which we could vote for. But then again, voting Plaid round here is like just letting Sarah Atherton get in again.
Yeah, I mean, also, I'm in the weird position of hating the Parliamentary Labour Party, but actually thinking that the Welsh Labour's not that bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
what we're trying to say.
Welsh Labour actually are far, far more forward-thinking and still representing where Jeremy was in comparison to the English Labour Party at the moment. I can definitely say that. But yeah, it was it's kind of all the work that was on, kind of happened under Jeremy. It's kind of very much been undone now, back to square one, and it's an interesting situation that we are in at the moment, because a lot of people like yourself said they don't think they can find themselves voting for the party at the moment or find them supporting the party, and it's like, how do we create this change within society then? Because the fact is, the current Labour Party in its current state under Keir Starmer, who, let's not forget, is an anointed knight of the realm, is not going to redress the balance of society. And I think that's why you are seeing a lot more kind of, maybe use the word militant, but, kind of more militant trade union action at the moment. We've had strikes today. In England, teachers' strikes. We've had, kind of the post office strikes. We've, kind of a lot of people are focusing more energies into winning those battles at the moment, rather than the parliamentary battles. So it's where you kind of put your focuses, really, isn't it?
Well, the Labour Party kind of doesn't represent organised labour anymore, because like even the largest union in the country is now like removed all sorts of I don't think that they fund the Labour Party at all anymore. Like Unite broke all sides of the Labour, didn't they?
I don't know. I honestly become so disillusioned with it. I see that I see things every now and then. Like I saw Starmer's 5 pledges, which to me were absolute, like they were just nothing. And then his stance about improving the NHS.
Where he wouldn't rule out privatisation.
He didn't necessarily say that, but to me, the way he said it,
what you read,
in between the lines and in conjunction with Wes Street, and it's just like, as someone with a disability who relies on the NHS heavily, privatisation is terrifying, as it is to most people. But like, I don't know, I feel like Labour have been bought in a way by somebody, and that's
No,
I just brought the conversation to the depths.
yeah, I mean, like I think like kind of we all have a keen interest in politics, so we kind of like digressed very early there. Like, I probably maybe should get on the topic of music and
back to the main topic. So,
sorry.
To lighten the mood a bit, let's talk about everyone's favourite cringy wannabe vampire, but who owns a replica Dalek, so is in some way redeemable. For you guys, who you've also written a song about.
Absolutely.
Oh yes.
Danny's tried to tell me the story on multiple occasions. I've been like, no, I want my reaction on the podcast to be like untainted, just live reaction to this.
Yeah, because obviously we both have access to the Instagram account and everything, and all the socials. We sometimes one of us won't read something and always put a load of stuff, so you completely missed all of the.
And I'm glad I did. So I'm just like ready for a story now.
I kind of want to start off with the thing about him saying, "Do you know who I am?" Like, I want to use that as a taster. So.
Oh, that was a story that we heard from a Nottingham promoter. Apparently, he got removed from a pub for busting out the old "Do you know who I am?" to the bartender, and they removed him.
In case we haven't, let's say it's down Cradle of Filth.
Yeah, that was it the tap?
Yeah,
I think that
yeah.
one wasn't
Yeah,
it?
Phil said it was the tap. Yeah, just kicked him straight out.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of stories like that about our favourites kind of little vampire in his entourage. Basically, Danny is not very punk, and Tom took it upon himself. Tom took it upon himself to try and get a collaboration out of Danny Phil, more for a reaction than anything, I think. And he just kept on telling us that he needs to speak to his management. Not even a "hi guys, really like what you're doing," kind of not even any of that.
It was just straight in with the money. Like, give me the money and I'll do it.
Yeah, give me the money, I'll do it, basically. And the guy he represents a lot. Things that are, a lot of things that are quite bad about the metal scene, I think, or kind of. Sorry, it was one of my various cats just walked across me, but I think I'll let Tom speak on this one. He could probably explain it in a little better.
The whole thing started off where we just made little memes about him, just to try and get his attention. And the one that he responded to was like a fake MMA card that we made, like us versus him. And we used like Tekken characters as us. And he shared it. And I was like, okay, right. So this is step one. He's noticed it, he's sharing it. I was thinking to myself, why is he sharing it? Because he has no idea what it is. So I took the shot and I messaged him. And I said, so when is this happening then? Are you down for the fight? And he literally said, I have no idea what this is about. And let me get up the conversation.
Also, as a side note, I think we need to put that meme as the thumbnail for the video.
Yeah.
Oh no, I won't be able to get up the conversation. He's blocked us. Shit.
He blocked
us? Yeah, he blocked us not long ago. Because the last meme that I made, which led to him blocking us, was one of those. Have you seen the memes where it's "Mum, can we have such and such?" It's like, no, we have this at home. And
Yeah.
It's like the I put "Mum, can we have Cradle of Filth?" It's no, we have Cradle of Filth at home. And then the Cradle of Filth at home, it was just a pile of shit. And I tagged him on the shit, and that was it. Blocked.
Oh.
But
I mean, it was. Yeah, it was, kind of asking for it, really.
Yeah.
But I think that was our goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, just to get him to block us, like notice and then block. because he shared something, so that's his fans noticing us. It's all publicity, and yeah, I kept like messaging him every so often saying what have the management said. Like, if they want money, they're not having it. We're not paying you a single penny. But I've also heard that he charged someone £6 to talk to him for a zine, and he didn't even send anything back to them at all. He also does Cameo as well. Like, it's like £40.
£40 to have an overweight goth.
I think
Yeah.
for my birthday, can you get me a cameo from Danny Phil, please?
I love
He might take the money and just not do anything.
I mean, I think it's also really important to point out that Cradle of Filth really are a bag of shit as well, aren't they? They're just not very good. I mean, I hope there's no Cradle of Filth fans in here.
Oh,
I don't care if there is or listening, but you know, kind of, I'm just not a fan of Cradle of Filth. It just kind of annoys you know about the amount of times, and it's the amount of times when people ask you what kind of music you like, what you're into, and you say kind of, oh, I'm into, you know, various, you know, I don't just listen to black metal, I listen to lots of different types of extreme metal, lots of rock, lots of different things, lots of punk, but the amount of times you say, oh, you know, playing black metal bands, blah blah blah, and they'll say, oh, I bet you like Cradle of Filth. You just want to go, no.
It's like when you see like metal and they're like, oh, do you like Slipknot? It's
The worst,
it's always the go-to band for them.
the worst one I've had.
Yeah.
I've wearing a Bathory shirt, and because I've got like Crohn's disease, I have to have blood tests all the time. So I hate needles as well. Backstory again: when I was a kid, I had an operation, and the blood squirted out the cannula. I said to my dad, I don't want to do it anymore, and put to sleep. I think that's why I'm afraid of needles. Anyway, she says to me, I'm wearing a Bathory shirt. Oh, what's that band? And I start talking about metal, and then she goes, oh, do you like Rammstein? And then she goes, I've forgotten the bottle. Leaves me with a needle sticking out my arm, and I'm there panicking, going, what the hell do I even say now? It's horrible.
Yeah, I think like Cradle just represent that weird like commercialization of black metal and the kind of like that like especially when you're amphetamine fix and that kind of like sort of use like it is just like kind of it very much feels like it was just kind of like edginess trying to be marketed to teenagers.
Also, I feel like the IT crowd is making more of a meme with the whole
Not
no
Cradle
feeling thing.
Phil. That'd be disgusting.
Yeah.
Didn't they do like a collaboration like Ed Sheeran or something along those lines?
I saw Danny Phil, the picture of Danny Phil, like
Yeah.
Ed Sheeran, and I'm like, I want to see Ed Sheeran in Corpse Paint, and I want it to be like,
I want to see them both in the bin.
what if they were in a bit in Corpse Paint?
That bin is on stage, Slipknot being hit
Yeah.
by a baseball bat.
Yeah. So what? Yeah. Sorry.
What I want to see is Ed Sheeran in some 2 foot tall New Rocks and a cape and corpse paint and Danny Phil with an acoustic guitar and a ginger mop and a very bland look on his face. That's what I want to see. I want to see a complete role reversal. Yeah.
But we need the bin player of Slipknot to be involved too.
Oh, that's kind of like a meme for us ever since we found out that the guy that literally was paid millions just to slap a bin on stage ended up suing the band because he felt like he was underpaid for slapping a bin.
Because I used to live in Manchester. I do Rev all the time. I remember having that conversation.
And we were just dying.
I am very sure that the bass player of Ithaca used to own V-Rev. It looks the same. Like, he looks the same. I think I've seen him at Gatecreeper and I don't see Under. But maybe I'm confusing all old men with facial hair who look a bit hipstery together. But I don't think I am. Because he talked to us about metal. So again, I'm like, that's another thing. But I think he may have been involved in our bin conversation, or he came past or served us or
What
something.
one we were literally crying with laughter.
Yeah, we were crying in this restaurant, and I think he was there
because
just about the bin, and we just sent each other pictures of the guy hitting the bin once.
it was just the case that it was just after the story broke that he felt, despite being a multi-millionaire, he felt that he had been underpaid by Slipknot for his services.
Oh, I'd love, you know, to tour the world hitting a bin
Yeah,
for,
same.
you know, kind of a few nights a year and getting paid a lot of money for it.
That's my new
Kind
dream.
of like, it's just like life isn't that hard for these people, is it? Really, it really isn't. I mean, apart from, you know, when they kill themselves and stuff, but you know, that's a different thing. But you know, kind of to complain. I mean, that's a good point. His mate, you know, kind of his bandmates have like died from being quite disabled and stuff, and he's complaining about being underpaid for hitting a bin. It does make you think, doesn't it? Really.
I want to add bin sounds to whatever music I make next.
Oh, if you
I
like
wanted to
bin
make-
sounds,
I wanted
have
to
you
make
listened to
some,
Set Under?
True,
The snare
True.
tone in Set Under.
true. I wanted to make like a vampiric black metal, like solo project thing, and now I have to sample the Saint Anger drum tone, and I'm gonna hit a bin lid. That would work great.
You might get millions. You never know.
It will do. Loads of people will love it. They'll absolutely love it. They'll be talking about the various meanings behind it. You'll be compared to Varg. Being
I
this.
don't think that's a good thing.
Varg.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
It's not.
that's the
It's
last
not I'm not
comparison
saying.
you want.
I'm not saying it as a good thing. I'm not saying it as a good thing at all. I mean, I think he was awful. His music's rubbish.
Production and hand me the worst microphone you have in the
if Varg
studio.
got
Yeah, give me the worst microphone, and I'll play this really, really make this. The thing that gets me about it, it just sounds like a very, very shit effort. Like he's not made any effort whatsoever. You know, I don't think he was. He was making any effort really, but it's you know, kind of when people compare people to it, it's seen as like a good thing when it's not at all. I mean, I quite enjoyed. Like Tom said before, I liked being compared to Dark Throne because you know, I like Dark Throne. Bosom, I don't really, and also because there's appalling kind of personal beliefs and politics and behaviour. I think I'd be quite upset if someone compared me to that.
I remember the memes though as well, when he just released these videos from like kicking the air and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh, like when because I had like to trade you for your Danny Filth story. I ended up having a prolonged argument with Varg on his YouTube comment section about the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
He made some bizarre video about like the state of global politics, comparing like Obama and Putin to Sauron and Saruman or something like
Oh my
that.
God.
It just got
It's just in his own little world, isn't it?
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
driving around in his old Soviet Jeep trying to give people like dating advice, and was like kind of like, you must become a man of renown.
I think that this just shows how
Yeah.
it's like
Telling people not to wash at all. That's his latest. That's his latest thing, isn't it? Telling people not to wash.
Oh no!
Yes.
I made memes of that. Like I was like, you know, Varg smells, pass it on. And
Jesus.
Joe, the best one was. Did you ever see that one where he was wearing chainmail walking through water
Oh, the Skyrim.
and he almost drowned? Yeah.
Oh, like, well, like so you basically done it so that you were fighting Varg in Skyrim and had like the Hellfire and stuff like that, like where he's there in his chainmail and stuff.
That is beautiful. But I think me being compared to Varg would trigger him because he got really triggered by the Lord of Chaos thing. So getting compared to a trans femme person would be really,
Oh, that was
really pissed
that was so weird. 'Cause the biggest issue with that was that the actor was Jewish, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Like, he was like,
yeah.
that was
And then he
really-
tries that like he's not racist, and it's like Varg. What is the reason?
Yeah, the actor was Jewish, and that he was, and that the actor, you know, was a slightly larger build. I think, kind of basically was complaining that he said the actor was fat and he didn't like that. It wasn't like that in real life.
My favorite, the whole
it's
like in that film where like Euronymous like made fun of his little scorpions patch, and then it cuts to Bog cutting the patch off his jacket and crying in his room eating crackers.
It's the sex scene in it as well, where like he's sleeping. Is he sleeping with like 2 women?
Oh no, it's a montage of just different women coming
and
in.
He had a problem with that as well.
Yeah, it wasn't he saying stuff like those kind of things never happened. We never had threesomes or anything. I'm sure there was like a comment from him like that.
Also, he hated the film so much.
There was an interview actually in which he declared that never happened because Euronymous was probably a homosexual and he's never touched a woman in his life, blah 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 blah, all this kind of really kind of bigoted stuff. And it's just on another planet, really. One of my favorite things about the Lord of Chaos YouTube comments section as well is all the people complaining that it painted Varg in a bad light.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
serial arsonist and Nazi.
Yeah. A guy who stabbed his friend to death, burnt down lots of churches. Portray him in a bad light. Really, it's not that hard.
An angel amongst men.
See, what I liked about the Lords of Chaos film is the fact that, like, because I think like a lot of people have like mythologized these figures, like like Varg and everyone like that, and it actually did just paint them as messed up teenagers and kind of what they were.
You watch the film and just like when it's finished, you're just like, what a bunch of losers.
I mean, like,
there were a load of, let's put it frankly, there were a load of posh, disenfranchised kids with nothing to do in Norway. And I think that's one of the big things that led to those circumstances. There wasn't very much to do. It was actually at the time quite an affluent country. I think Varg himself was actually from quite an affluent background.
That's the thing. His parents financed the first couple of Burzum albums and like a studio and stuff like that. And it's like, but he will like hide behind the whole like bad production and try and make it look really DIY and underground when it's kind of not.
Yeah, are you guys part of the People's Black Metal Necro posting? Because there was a meme in there. Oh no, there was a meme. I think someone's made like a compilation, and it's Varg and Euronymous, but as like lovers. And
no, I've not seen any of that.
It said something about.
No, I'll have a look for them because just knowing that he strikes me as the type of guy who he's kind of rejected technology and the internet, but it seems to be on the internet commenting on everything all the time. I'll look at them just in the knowledge that how much they are kind of triggering and upsetting him. It would be quite fun. But
I think
in all seriousness, though, his really bonkers, kind of, fascistic views have, kind of almost, kind of are one of the reasons that has, kind of led to so many kind of fascists within the, the kind of black metal scene, isn't it? Really, it has been like kind of influential. And I think there's or necro fascists. Look there, Tom, I got another necro in. I think he's, kind of Varg Schmal, was quite an influential book within. But believe it or not, I actually know kind of people who are anti-fascist campaigners or activists who don't actually really know about his background as a black metal musician or what he's done as a musician in general, but they know Vargsmal and the book and his political beliefs and, you know, kind of the Nordicism sort of things. And he does have like this bizarre kind of influence,
Like I remember
which you know, even though it's a joke, it can be quite dangerous in many ways because of the genre, and it's a genre that kind of epitomizes kind of isolation and feeling, you know, those feelings of, you know, kind of being cut off, or misanthropy and those sorts of things. It, you know, can be ripe for, you know, kind of those, you know, those sorts of views to, you know, kind of, you know, influence people into pursuing those sorts of views is what I'm trying to say, actually, into pursuing those kind of fascist elements. And because of the nature of people who do listen to that sort of music, because they're generally cut off, disenfranchised, and one thing that Nazis will always do, or neo-Nazis will always do, is target disenfranchised people.
Yeah, very ground.
It actually can be quite dangerous, even though it's quite easy to joke about it. It can be quite dangerous. And back to our single, that's kind of one of the reasons behind it. I was sick of, you know, when you're listening, you discover a new black metal, but playing other bands, and the amount of times I've been asked to play a gig, and the first thing I've done is go and look up the views of the other bands on that bill to check that you're not playing with the Nazi.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It does make your kind of skin crawl, and make you kind of think we need to stand up to this shit in this genre, really.
Yeah, I know, I agree. Because every single band I listen to now, I just go straight onto like looking for who they are, what they do, and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
It's really shit. You don't really get that in many other genres. It's just annoying that black metal. But I like it so much, and that so many dickheads like it as well. So
Yeah, I think like when you're first getting into the music, like you obviously get your gateway bands, and they end up being like Burzum, Mayhem, stuff like that. And at the time, you don't really look into anything like political side. You just know that there were these weird murdering maniacs from Norway. And then as you delve further into the genre and you grow and you look into these things, you're kind of like, yeah, they're actually idiots. Like, why did I even waste my time with this?
and then the ones that were dead young, like Ted and Fenris and everything, they've all distanced themselves from it.
Yeah.
It's like, I think as well, the weird thing is when you look at the ages of some of the people that were involved in it, I feel like Euronymous maybe groomed a lot of teenagers, you know, like when you see like how young Fenris was, even like
Faust as well.
Yeah.
He was like something like 15 when he came out.
Yeah.
You know, it's like.
But then that makes me sad then when I look at Night Side of the Eclipse and how young Isham was writing that, and I'm like, I'm 26. But I haven't seen something.
Yeah, like the guys from Emperor were like literally considered like musical prodigies in Norway at the time. You know, they were kind of that talented, you know, that sort of musician. And like you said, they did become influenced by the two leaders of, you know, the kind of this movement. I think, like you said, they have gone on to distance themselves from that. Fenris has been very, very open about distancing himself from those sorts of views now. More not so much as overtly, but he definitely has. Darkthrone definitely have said that, you know, he very much said himself, I was very young, stupid, angry at the world at the time. Where
that tends to be a lot of it, though. It's like the age and influence from people, but as they grow, they learn to understand better politics, and they can change as people.
Yeah, it's one thing that put me off for a while was Liege from Alcest and his involvement with Past Noir.
Yeah,
Alcest for years until I saw his like apologies and all that. I think he was like 15 when he was their drummer, but like
yeah,
it's the kind of thing like as well, like it's that whole thing of guilt by association as well, and it's a kind of
Yeah.
especially at that age, it's very difficult.
That's a huge one, the guilt by association, because like say you listen to, I don't know, like if you're first getting into black metal, so you listen to Burzum and everything, and later on in life you find out like everything that he did or his politics, everything that he stands for, you would automatically feel guilty for having listened to it back then.
Yeah, I think as well. I think people forget how maybe not as big these bands are, because I know my partner's a tattoo apprentice, and a guy who we're friends with who works there was doing my tattoo, and he said, "Oh, someone I know owns like they've made cables, like musical cables. I didn't do it for this guy called Ishan. Do you know who he is?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do know who Ishan is." I think, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that.
Oh, by the way,
Just about Ishan.
this is Fenrir's. I had to get him out of his cage because,
Fenris hasn't actually appeared on the podcast.
Oh yeah, this is Fenrir's. Is Ted usually?
Gate crashes.
Yeah, my two Dagoos are named Ted and Fenris.
So he's the third host.
Yeah, well, third and fourth. Like Ted's actually being remarkably quiet today, whereas he usually rattles.
I know Fenris has got that Patreon where he does a show. I think it's all in Norwegian, but I would, if it wasn't, I would pay like £3 a month to listen to that, because you can ask him questions as well.
The radio show that he does.
Yeah, he's got a Patreon for it now, and I think it's a Patreon exclusive thing.
Yeah, I know he does like the whole Radio Fenrir's thing.
Yeah.
It's weird that you choose to do it in Norwegian, because you think that's like limiting your market somewhat.
I think he wants it to be smaller. I think he wants it to be a manageable thing where people are asking him questions. Because could you imagine it in English and everyone just like writings like us just going on there going, "I love you, Fenris."
I'm gonna become like those weebs that like learn Japanese just so they can watch anime in the original Japanese. I'm gonna do that with Norwegian just
so you can watch any of the Japanese with subtitles like any civilized person. I do.
Just to actually go out and learn the language. For that purpose, I'm going to do that with Norwegian just so I can read annoying comments on his podcasts.
Wow. I don't know where to go with that. You just baffled me with that part.
I have a lot of free time.
You do.
Oh.
So
yeah,
we asked you to pick 5 songs which we will play on our radio show, which will be airing tomorrow, which by the time this goes out will be probably now, usually where we schedule it.
Yeah, we try to have it uploaded on daytime Thursday so people can.
Yeah.
If you're watching it after the 2nd of March, you can catch it again on the replay. Yeah, so we asked you to play 5 songs
provided on socials and
that will be played at an indeterminate timing in relation to when this is being recorded. What are those 5 songs, and how can we pick them, and what do they sort of mean to you guys?
Okay, so the mishap last time and the ones that I picked that had swearing in by accident, my apologies.
Another thing we will say, the reason I'm very specific with that is because when we interviewed Howard, he picked a Toxic Holocaust song which was labelled explicit, so I just quickly went, we'll grab one that isn't. That had literally
the chorus was "War is fucking hell," repeated about 8 times.
And the chorus happened like the usual amount of times. The chorus happened so what, like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I think it was the Crash song that I picked. It just said like shit once, didn't it?
Yeah.
And that's it.
We'll just try and avoid that. Even though I think
I hoped all these ones are okay. I don't think they're explicit. I checked.
It's okay. XVI from Trespass, who we interviewed last, most of his songs were explicit, and they were interesting because they weren't all metal. There was like pop songs in there as well.
There was a country song. That was really good.
Was that explicit?
No, we actually played that one.
Right, so it's Napalm Death, Vision Conquest. I replaced the songs of swearing. So there's Vanda, Storms of the Frostborn, Clones of Sirius is Singularity. Discharge, Does the System Work? And Dead Kennedys, Kill the Poor.
Yeah, very good choices. There's a lot of punk in there, so that's obviously.
Yeah, that's the influence on us. Vanda is Jyoti's other band, and Clones of Sirius, our live bassist Sam, is in Clones of Sirius, and my brother is the vocalist of them.
We've actually played them before, haven't we?
Yeah, there's these guys.
Yeah, you played there.
We
It was
premiered
an exclusive at the time, wasn't it? Reanimated.
it, what did they-
But yeah, the Storms of the Frostborn Vanda one, that's the new one that's just been released.
Awesome.
But yeah, influence on us, like mainly Discharge, Napalm Death. Like it's just, I'm not even sure. We just listen to a lot of Discharge and Napalm Death.
I think, yeah, I generally tend to go for stuff that I listen to, but yeah, I think Discharge, you could definitely hear Discharge in our kind of music, and you know, we literally, you know, use the D beat, the Discharge beat. Napalm Death, you know, are obviously the godfathers of like really of UK anti-fascist grind. I don't think you can say anything more than that. There is still, particularly we're working on a full length at the moment. There are definitely grind elements in there as well as black metal. So, you know, kind of.
Barney is also influential for his use of the not use of his teaching of
Ed Miliband.
on that Ed Miliband's radio show. That was a thing of beauty. And then there's some,
actually taken like Ed Miliband attempting to do those vocals and put them as the scream in You Suffer. So somewhere there's like this Napalm Death remix with Ed Miliband's vocals on it for You Suffer.
We actually cover You Suffer live, and we covered it on our last EP.
we use this with a special
little joke.
Yeah, every time we've got a few songs where if there's 2 minutes we've got to fill, we'll drop in. Which Dark song is it?
Oh, it's usually Circle the Wagons.
Oh, Circle the Wagons. Or there's a Gatecreeper song we drop in. Starved, yeah, which is like 2 minutes.
That's like 1 minute.
Is it?
Yeah, it's really short. It was off that weird EP that they've released recently.
Yeah. And then also, if we've got a few seconds to kill, we'll play You Suffer, but we'll pad it out with like 30 seconds of the build up to the joke.
Oh yeah, I'll be like, here's a deep, meaningful song from me to you, a deep spiritual meaning to me, and then
that's very much what we kind of do live. I mean, it's more like 3 minutes build up. We do like a 2.5 minute, 3 minutes build up of harsh noise and feedback and you know, kind of synth noise, and you know, kind of
straight into You Suffer.
Yeah, this is a Napalm Death cover, and that's it. You know, like people are stood there going, "What?" It is quite.
If you've got time to kill as well, like after you've done You Suffer, you could play Dead as well.
What was that, sorry?
Yeah.
You could play Dead by Napalm Death. That's around probably like 4 seconds long.
Oh wow!
Couple more seconds to kill.
Yeah, we do a medley and it's always ridiculously short grind tracks.
Yeah. Because I think the rules from Ofcom as well are we're not allowed to play so many songs from the same artist in the same hour. But if we compiled a load of just really short grindcore songs, they might not even know.
I mean, I'm more than happy to do like, if there's like an intro track that flows really well into another song from the same artist of the album, I'll play both of them just as.
I want to see how we can bend the rules though, because of the fact that we are like hidden away secretly on a Thursday night with a small cult following.
Yeah, we have like, and we have like 3 hours to play with because we just go on ridiculously late into the morning.
Yeah, you get the graveyard shift.
I mean, you can make the really, really tedious argument as well that with those early Napalm Death songs, it was probably a completely different lineup on one to the next. Yeah, even on the same album, you know, there's one, you know, Scum. The first half is a completely different lineup to Scum the second half, which I think is brilliant. There's like one person that's the same.
Yeah, because they literally trade members of like Carcass and stuff like that, wouldn't they? Like it didn't like
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
like Ken Owen played in both bands at one point, didn't he?
There's another way you could get away with it as well. Say if you put all the short songs together, you could just say it's one band. So like multiple, I don't know,
It's a super group.
3 to 10 second grind songs. Like, I don't know, 42 bands, and then say, oh no, it's just one band.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get a larger bag of funny tricks to play on the radio.
We do.
I'd like to start incorporating ridiculous sound effects as well.
That is the goal. I think we just literally use it as like a way to program playlists of stuff we've been listening to. For some weeks, I went through a massive phase listening to like newer trad stuff. So it's all trad metal, and now I've got back into heavy stuff again. There's literally like loads and loads of black metal, loads of crossover like thrash death metal stuff, and like just in this week's thing. And I'm like, because we try and do it where it's like a bit more lighter to get people in, you know, play like Metallica and Megadeth.
Yeah,
and
we
Iron
used to
Maiden
be
in the
like
first
more
hour.
Richard with Black.
Then the second hour would be like extreme metal, third hour would be like experimental.
Yeah.
And then it fluctuates where sometimes it's like an hour of death metal, an hour of black metal in the middle. But now it's like
No, it's just random. Like it's
Yeah.
Which because we briefly experimented with having a co-host and stuff, and it didn't work out.
for one roundup show, because I just do the podcast. I produce everything else.
But like, yeah, we like tried that with him, and like his kind of argument was like, oh well, if you tune in at a random point, like, and you're not hearing the genre that you like, you know, it might be, you know, if you don't like black metal and you have an hour of black metal to sit through, you don't listen again. Which I can see his argument, but at the same time, it's I kind of liked going on that little journey. You know, like when we'd start off with like trad metal and thrash and stuff. You know, as a bit of foreplay, ease into, you know, gas and shit, and then
Extreme at the end.
and then like end with some like weird proggy aftercare.
I have to get out of the way of repeating the same things because I really like ending the show with "Die for the Devil" by Enforcer. And I've dropped in on Nasty Pazuzu before, like at the start of the third hour. So hopefully someone's fallen asleep and that shit comes on. Because I remember when I was writing my dissertation when the last album came out, and I was listening to it, and I was like, "This is great. This is really hypnotic." And then the vocals kicked in, and I knew shit myself.
I mean, I kind of like it when we find that those tracks that like have those like really weird outros to end the show. Like, you know, we've got like there's that Dark Throne one, and like, you know, Winda's Journey to the End, things like that, where it gets all synthy and bizarre.
We ended the show on one of Dark Throne's last.
Yeah, off the Astral Fortress album. What's the last song on that album called?
Oh, I can't remember. Something. It was the one that ends with a synthy bit. Not this last album, the one before. Something Opacra.
It was Astral Fortress, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. No, it was the album before that. It was the Eternal Hails one.
Oh, I mean, I've literally got that on my sense. Yeah.
But because we went to go see Catatonia and Solsifia.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Lost Arcane City of Upakra.
Also, I felt like a poser because I didn't realise that how heavy Catatonia were at first. And when he started doing like the in between songs, I was like, no one prepared me for this. It was amazing. And I never listened to Solsifia, and I was like, these are going to be just a slog to get through. And they were amazing. So I decided then to program.
Doing that. Like, you just write off so many
bands. I did it. Went to see Halloween and Hammerfall, and I never liked Hammerfall. I was like, I have to slog through Hammerfall. It was honestly the best thing we've ever been to. It was me and my partner Heather. We were like watching it. It was like 4 hours of 2 headline sets.
It was amazing. Yeah.
And then there was a guy at the end because they'd gone over. They were supposed to finish at 11, but it'd gone over by 2 or 3 minutes. There was a guy with all his shopping bags. It was really weird, complaining that they'd gone over, like shouting as if they could hear him.
Yeah. Oh god, that was creepy. He wasn't the weirdest fan at that
the
show.
Weirdest thing. There's some context.
Are we about to tell the story?
Yeah, we are. There was a guy.
Please.
There was a guy sitting in front of us with his girlfriend.
Right.
I assume they were together. They might have been married. They may have just been friends with benefits, maybe. But he was bending onto the railing. He was stood by the railing bits. He was wearing a 5-finger Death Punch backpack on his jacket.
Which
That
will
is
become relevant
that
later.
is relevant.
Oh, no.
We kept looking at her like, what is she doing? She had her hand on his back, but her hand went further and further down, and we think she was performing some kind of
Well-
anal foreplay on him.
Well, at one point, like, and she was just like the entire length of the set.
Yeah,
like
the
you
whole
said.
of the
She
whole of
was just
that.
going to town on this guy, and then Heather, Danny's partner, came out with probably one of my favorite like one-liners ever. Like, oh, he was getting a right 5-finger ass punch, wasn't he?
Oh, God.
Yeah, so that was weird. But yeah, so then we saw Solsphere. So I decided, like, I'm going to program half an hour of just absolute sad music, because I really like Swallow the Sun as well. So I was like, cast Solsphere, cast Tonia, Swallow the Sun. And at that point, I'm like, it's more for me than anyone listening.
Well, you could turn someone on to those bands that have never heard.
Yeah.
Of it before, you know,
That's true.
yeah, like
Because
I said,
Solsphere as well was that good. We were at the front, and I could feel my ears getting damaged. So I finally bought earplugs for gigs. So that's something. They did something for me.
I've still never done that. I've never wore
I
earplugs to a gig. Yeah, it's
I've
there's
not.
so many people that recommend it, and you see it all the time. And it's like, no, I'm okay. No, I'm fine.
That's how I. And I was like, because Solsphere's got a load of feedback, and my ears were just like screeching, and I was like, this actually hurts.
Yeah.
And I finally bit the bullet and done it. But this podcast is descending into just rambling. isn't it?
yeah.
Story time.
Yeah, it has become
time
story
with Bob
time.
and Danny.
Yeah.
I'll add another story to this. So for some reason, I was watching the Tony Hawk's podcast the other day, and his co-host, Wolf, whatever he's called, is hilarious. They were interviewing Seth Rogen, and he made a joke. Yeah, he made a joke about Will Smith slapping Chris Rock, and then Tony Hawk was like, "Oh, is it time to stop making jokes about that now?" And he said, like, you know, these are things. The same with Mel Gibson being anti-Semitic. These are things you never stop making jokes about, because people will forget about it. So I kind of think memeing Varg is like, if we can reduce
You brought
him,
it back round to
Full
actually be
circle.
relevant.
if you can meme Varg hard enough to literally like make him like just completely ridiculous,
I mean, at the
it
same
might
time,
nullify him. in
I
some
feel
way.
like left-wing black metal fans do a lot more to keep Varg relevant than people who actually like Burzum.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the time people will say, "Oh, this band sucks because they're fascists," when that's necessarily not the case. I wish all fascist bands sucked, but pointing out how stupid they are and making them seem irrelevant, I think, is a better strategy.
Yeah.
It's just difficult when these kind of people produce like
Yeah.
meme-worthy content.
Yeah.
Like
Shower.
you just want to meme on them, but at the same time you're fueling them. At the same time you're giving them the attention. It's no one wins.
Yeah.
I do agree with the kind of satire element, though, that if you do reduce someone down to a level of just pure ridiculousness, it can help. But it is always really important to remember the kind of dangerous philosophy that is behind those people. The kind of bands that we're talking about, some of them, it's there's quite a lot of grey area. There's some bands which are definitely fascists and have, kind of financed, like some of the Finnish bands do it, financed,
like the proper militant
kind of
ones.
militant
Yeah.
fascist cells,
If I see a band,
and fascist activism, and then there are the bands that say that they are Nazis to be controversial, and then complain about getting cancelled later on. Kind of and act really surprised about it. So you kind of, and I'm not making excuses for them at all. But I think there is an element of like kind of like almost childish edgelordness about it. Kind of bit of kind of getting publicity, the same really kind of really stupid things. But the kind of thing, the dangerous thing is that kind of, for example, someone has a swastika tattooed on him and then tries to claim that it wasn't meant as an offensive symbol. I don't quite buy into it. I mean, we know who we're talking about. It's talking about Poles basically, but it's like you can't. If kind of, there are some things which are going to cause a great deal of upset, a great lot of pain, has caused a great lot of pain to people in the world. So I don't always buy I've done it to be controversial, or I've done it without understanding the impact this is going to have on people, really, because that's another thing people claim, that people have misinterpreted them. It's quite hard to misinterpret a swastika these days. You can claim that in the kind of Eastern religions, they've always been around, but in Europe, when a white European person uses a swastika, it generally means one thing. It's the connotations with the Nazis.
No, absolutely.
We'll round this up. I think we've gone out, but I kind of want to end. We've obviously talked about a lot of depressing stuff, especially with the Labour Party. So is there anything sort of going on where you can see a glimpse of hope, maybe? I know we talked about it with Trespasser as well. Yeah. I feel like when it's a bit really politically dour, is there anything hopeful that you think happening in the UK? Internationally. There's no answer, we'll all just cry.
I think it comes to, these things always go in circles, is what you find politically and over, years. I think, luckily, kind of, we have got to a point now, each generation seems to be more progressive than the last. And that's one thing. And we've got, kind of, I've got a daughter who is 10. And she is very, she's concerned about the environment. She's concerned about people's rights. She's concerned about trans rights. She's concerned about, kind of racism and stuff. And, kind of culturally, kids are growing up these days. A new generation is growing up where, like I said, they are more progressive than the last, and they are, they want, they're a lot more conscientious about the impact they're having on the world. I think, kind of because they've been told about impending climate disaster, but, quite early on in their lives, because it's a very real thing. They are now choosing to be quite conscientious and think about the impact that, kind of the way they live their lives has on other people as a collective. So in some ways, collectivism does seem to make in some sort of kind of return. And that's, again, you can see that with, the kind of trade union movement, which has been, since Thatcherism, has been absolutely decimated and crushed and ground down, but is now getting to the point again where it's starting to build again. And when those things start to build, they start to kind of steamroll. So if people can learn to kind of focus their energies in a collective way of basically telling the racist Nazis and Tories to fuck off, then we see what I did there. We will, kind of, kind of the future will be brighter. There is a generation who don't want to basically make the mistakes that, kind of previous generations have. So I think we do have, there is hope in the world. I can't believe I'm saying that as a black metal artist. There is hope, and we should cling on to that hope, really, because otherwise things won't change. We can't be beaten by apathy, or we can't be beaten by not caring about society and how everybody else survives. So I think it will come to a breaking point with the economy at some point. I think there will be a breaking point, and I think that's going to come soon. In all honesty, the signs are there that it's going to come soon. I'm not talking about we're going to have a revolution. That's a million miles away. But they always thing to remember about kind of making real change is that you only have to win once to make that real change. So you've got to keep fighting those battles.
Yeah, things in this country economically are shite.
It's very interesting that every band that we've spoken to of similar political leanings, that's kind of been the emphasis of like a lot of the projects that I know, Dawn Raid, Trespasser. A lot of the lyrical content of both of their new albums is to do with like seeing the light and actually like finding new glimmers of hope in what seems like a very
also I've got to say, I wish we could play not the song that came out second from Dawn Raid's new album. Because that bit where he's saying "fuck every fucker ever had a wage," the way he says it is so aggressive. I love it.
And it's catchy.
It is amazing.
Oh, who knows?
What accidentally? Oh no, I fell and I added it to the playlist. Oh no, it's gone out at 12 a.m. 12 p.m. on a Thursday. Didn't we do that once? We played Tornado of Souls in the middle of the day accidentally.
Yeah.
Because like the software like resets back to the present time.
Yeah.
It's taken a little while to put something in. So you dropped Tornado of Souls at 12 o'clock on that day, and it played out. Because it's where Carlin FM's based, underneath it's like an enterprise hub thing, and they all listen to Carlin FM. We went down and they were like, "Did you program something?" We were like, no. Yeah. So yeah, is there anything you would like to plug?
Oh, anything we'd like to plug? Good question. I can never think of anything straight away on the spot.
You mentioned you've got a upcoming date for Dawn Raid.
Yes, yeah, 26th of March in Derby at the Victoria Inn. We are playing Dawn Raid. April 7th, we're playing in Bolton with Final Dose and Scabs. We've got other gigs, but we can't announce them yet because they're not fully confirmed with other bands. We are working on an album as well. Yeah, that's about it. So check us out on Bandcamp. Awesome. Spotify. Bandcamp's better though because you can actually support us directly.
I also think Bandcamp's got better sound quality.
Yeah.
Even YouTube has better sound quality than Spotify.
Because I listened to the first, because I've only just got Bandcamp to buy stuff because I wanted to get Trespasser's first album. They've just redone a vinyl of it. And because I'm a sucker for the discs are different colours for some reason, I bought that. I think it was on the things I listened to it, and I was like, "This sounds way better than on Spotify." I don't know if it's to do with compression then or. Yeah,
I think it is. Also, it's important to remember that on Bandcamp, even though they do have their own problems, the artists do seem to see a bit more financial rewards for
with Bandcamp Fridays and stuff like that. Yeah, there's one coming this Friday actually. I think
Spotify is genuinely awful. After all the kind of everything in one of my other bands, we got 16,000 streams or something last year on Spotify, and we came out with about £1.85 in the end after all the various deductions. So it kind of puts into context how naff it is. I'm going to do a couple of plugs. I'm going to plug my other band Vanda. We're a little bit more. That's VANDR. We're a little bit more traditional black metal. There's a bit more kind of second wave worship in there. We are
new one as well. Don't forget your new project.
Yeah, I'm going to plug that afterwards. We have basically we're putting finishing touches on a full length that will be out later this year. we'll be doing, hopefully, we're trying to sort it out, do a mini tour to promote that as much as we can. So keep an eye out for them. And I just released and working on getting released a fully solo one-person black metal project, just to be a massive cliche. And I've very unashamedly made it completely and utterly about Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Yeah.
and recorded various songs in the Black Speech of Mordor. That's how far it's gone. So that's called Ghoul, as in Nazgul, but it's spelled Ghul. The first track's been released on Bandcamp. That's sort of released so far. If you want to check that out, it's called Where the Shadows Lie. But I've had a pretty good response from that as well. It's a bit more atmospheric without being atmospheric black metal is probably the best way to describe it.
Your projects in the description.
Feel free
Yeah.
on the Instagram to send us like some links to it, and we will try to include it in the show. As I don't think.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, cheers.
If they send to the Black Speech of Mordor, then you know
It's just racist, man.
Yeah. So, do you want to end?
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. I know it's been a bit of a long form, kind of like rambling one this time around, but we've really enjoyed having you on, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. It was better than just the standard interview questions that you get. You know, just have a conversation, just have a chat,
That's something we
ramble on about anything we want.
like. We do interview bands, you know, just like the 10-minute kind of interviews in person, and that tends to be a bit boring. You know, they kind of
Yeah.
all going.
Well, I've not done that yet because you did that years ago, but
Yeah, but we've got that because we're doing. I won't say it. You know, it's confirmed.
Yeah.
We're doing press at a festival in the northeast called Dominion Festival.
All right.
Dawn Raid, Hell Ripper, loads of bands who play on the radio are playing, and Blind Guardian are headlining, and it's in Durham. So you're gonna find me these.
I'm
things.
gonna photograph Blind Guardian and cry and pass away at the same time.
I saw Hell Ripper last year in Nottingham, and they were absolutely. It's one of the best gigs I went to last year. Actually, they absolutely smashed it. Really, really good. And the new Hell Ripper album is great. I'm really enjoying that at the moment.